Hello, welcome to a new video. Today I'm bringing you my October reading wrap up, and it was a pretty good one. I am a little bit sad because I didn't finish a book, but I completed 15 books and I got 20% into another one. We're going to get to the 20% in a moment because we all know how I'm very particular about finishing books before the end of the month, but we're going to get to that. I did DNF one book. So we're gonna get that out of the way now before we talk numbers. So I DNF'd The Last Magician by Lisa Maxwell. I was really sad about DNFing this one because I genuinely thought I would really enjoy it, but I got like 100-ish pages into it and I just wasn't loving it. It was reminding me a mix of, like, there was a character that was very much Kaz Brekker, and this was written after, and we all know my feelings about Leigh Bardugo books now. So it put me off that, but if it was just that, it would have been fine. I could have got past it. But then it started reminding me, there was one aspect of it that was reminding me of Only a Monster by Vanessa Len, which I read earlier this year and I did not enjoy. And that was written after this. So it was just leaving a bad taste in my mouth, and I was like, do you know what? I'm going to DNF it because we're not wasting time on books you're not enjoying. So yeah. But now let's get into the stats. So I read a total of 6,041 pages and I listened to 48.5 hours of audio, which is a lot. Star ratings, I had no 2 stars. I had 1 3-star. I had 6 4-stars and 8 5-stars. So without further ado, let's just go into it. I will get to the 20% one first. So I read 20% of Landscape with a Blur of Conquerors. This is the Reylo fanfic that the Hurricane Wars has been created from. So I wanted to read the fanfic first and I managed to get my hands on it, which was really hard, but I did it. However, that book is over 1,200 pages long. So I was trying to read it in between other books, but I only managed 20%, which, you know, that's still like almost 250 pages. It's 244 pages, so that's still a lot. So I'm gonna just keep reading this throughout the month of November, maybe December, we'll see, because November TBR is big if you haven't seen it. But I absolutely hate pulling books into different months, but I had no choice with this. Like, if it was just like 5% left of the book, I would have stayed up to finish it last night, but it wasn't happening. So there we go, it's fine. Okay, let's get stuck in with the books I did finish. So first up we have Kings of the World by Nicholas Ames. This was a 4-star, a really high 4-star. I really enjoyed this. I'm really glad Ash gave me this one as one of my books to read for her vlog. It was so good. She has actually lent me the sequel, which is on this shelf here at the moment. It's not going on my November TBR because if you've seen my November TBR, nothing else can be added to it. I've added to it since that video as well. Nothing else can go on it. That's waiting until December. But I absolutely loved how this was such like it was a serious fantasy. Serious things were happening, but they were just so funny. Like, they were just so chill as well. And I was here for it because this is a sort of fantasy I like. Even if it's a high fantasy where there's lots of like things and like there's politics and everything, I like a bit of humour because it makes it a little bit easier to digest. So very happy with this one, and I'm continuing the series. Next we had Rules for Vanishing by Kate Alice Marshall. This was another 4-star. This was almost a 5-star as well, but there was just like a couple of things that were really like getting on my nerves about it, which just bumped it down to a 4. But overall this was so good. I really, the ending confused me a little bit, and I think you're supposed to be a bit confused, but the main chunk of the book, I was on the edge of my seat. There was one bit where I actually jumped a little bit because it was so creepy. I wasn't expecting it, and I'm here for it. Here for it. Next up we have Kith and Kin by Marieke Nijkamp. I was about to say by Vox Machina. It's not. Kith and Kin is a Vox Machina book. So if you don't know, I'm a Critical Role fan. And I really wanted to read this. Originally my plan was that I was gonna get a autograph at Comic-Con from either Laura or Liam, preferably Laura, but Laura or Liam, because they play Vex and Vax. But they sold out far too quickly and I didn't manage to get them, so didn't happen. But I still wanted to read this because Vex and Vax are my absolute favourites. Like, at the moment I'm going to say from any campaign, but I feel like I've not watched enough of campaigns 2 and 3 to really attach myself to the characters yet. So for now, we're saying Vex and Vax are my favourites overall, but they're definitely my favourites of Vox Machina, although I do love all of Vox Machina. And I really loved seeing this backstory from before they met the rest of Vox Machina, and I loved this so much. I can't remember if I said this was a 5-star. Next up was You're Not Supposed to Die Tonight by Kaylin Bayron, and holy Jesus, this was a 5-star as well. I cannot believe how hooked I was on this. Like, I love the 2 Kaylin Bayron books that I've already read, which is Cinderella is Dead and This Poison Heart. This knocked them both out of that ballpark. Like, also the sun has just got really bright and in my face, which is just great for the lighting. But yeah, I really loved this. It gave real classic horror vibes. Now, I'm not a horror girly, but I am partial to watching the classics like Nightmare on Elm Street. Like Nightmare on Elm Street, the original Nightmare on Elm Street. I don't like the newer ones, but the original one, it's one of my favourite horrors. I don't watch many horrors, but that is one of my favourites that I do watch. And this just really gave those vibes. It's a secluded camp. There's murder. It was great. Next up was my reread of Illuminae by Amy Kaufman and Jay Kristoff. This was a 5-star, and this was such a good experience reading along with the audiobook, because the first time I read it was just physically, but the audiobook just brings a something to it, and I just can't explain it. But like, these books are so good, and I'm really glad that I now have the first one signed by both authors, because I had it signed by Jay Kristoff a few years back. He personalised it, he wrote a thing, he signed it, and then he did an IOU Amy Kaufman, because it was, I believe Amy Kaufman had not long had a baby, so she couldn't come over and do the tour with him. So he was doing IOUs for all of the books that they both write, and now Amy Kaufman has come over and I managed to get this signed, so I'm very happy. Next up we have The Restless Dark by Erica Waters. This book, this was a 5-star. I was hooked, and I really loved how I actually finished this book on my sprints, and I got messages from Tori, and then Jem also noticed at one point, was like, are you okay? Because I was like fully like head in hands, like I was stressed, but in the best way, the way you want from like a thrillery, mystery, horror-y type book. This was really creepy. They're looking for the bones of a serial killer, and they're in a creepy, foggy forest, and everyone's acting very weird, and it is amazing. Highly recommend this author. The atmospheric vibes are always on point. Next up we had Flying Witch Volume 1 by Chihiro Ishizuka. This was my 3-star. Now, I did really enjoy this. The story felt a little bit disjointed, and I was a little bit confused because it kept like jumping and it didn't really seem to like fit together. But I don't know if that's just because it is volume 1. So I do want to give more of this series a go and see if it stays the same. But the actual story is very cute, and this cat is adorable, and yeah, I like it. Next up we had Amelia Fang and the Unicorn Lords by Laura Ellen Anderson. This was a 5-star. I genuinely, like, this is one of my favourite middle grade series. I don't read much middle grade anymore, as you would have seen from the last like year of my videos, but there are some series that like I started back before, like when I used to read a lot of middle grade, and I still want to continue, and this is definitely one of them. So I read the first one like last year, I think, and I fell in love with the just whole group of friends. They're adorable, and I'm really glad that I continued. This one was so good with the Unicorn Lords, and I just love how we're seeing the character development of certain characters, and I can't wait to continue. Like, I need the rest of the series. Like, I've put more on. I've put the next one on my wish list because I'm like, I need it. Next up, we have Long Live the Pumpkin Queen by Shea Ernshaw. This was a 5-star. I am so happy with this book. Like, I didn't realise just how much I needed a continuation of The Nightmare Before Christmas from Sally's point of view until I read this book. Like, this was so good. We got to see some of Sally's background and I just absolutely loved every second of it. It was so well done, and it was written in a way that it really does feel like you're just back in the film and it's a sequel. And I was just, Shea Ernshaw is so good at this. Next up, we have Wranglestone by Darren Charlton. I finally read it, guys. I finally read it. This is a 4-star. I really enjoyed this. I need more zombie books, and I really liked the little way that this one is done. I don't want to say too much because I didn't know this was going to happen, and it blew my mind and I loved it. I cannot wait to read the sequel because I genuinely have no idea what's going to go down, and I cannot wait. It was so good, and I do understand why some people didn't like it, but the people that didn't like it, that have spoken to me about it, are the ones that also said it wasn't for me, but I think it'll be for you, and they were correct, so thank you. Next up was my reread of The Assassin's Blade by Sarah J Maas, and just look how much blue. If you know, you know. This is obviously a 5-star. Sarah J Maas. I absolutely, as much as these short stories break me, especially the last one, I love getting this background, especially when it's a reread and I know what happens in the rest of the series. It's nice to come back to these characters in the beginning, and I just love it so much. Next up, we have Star Wars Thrawn Alliances by Timothy Zahn. This is the second book in one of the Thrawn trilogies. Not this Thrawn trilogy, there's another Thrawn trilogy. And this is the second book. This one, I think, has been my favourite Thrawn book so far. This one is where we get to see, so it skips between 2 timelines. So you're in one timeline, you are with Thrawn when he's with Anakin, and then in the other timeline it's more the like present time to when this is taking place, and it is Thrawn with Darth Vader. And it is very, very interesting to see just how he is in those 2 situations, and I just loved it so much. And I'm itching for Libby, my library, to give me book 3 because I want to finish this trilogy, and then I'll finish that trilogy eventually, but this trilogy I am obsessed with. I definitely want to get these physically because I want to reread these ones. Like, they're so good. I think I forgot to say, but this one was a 4-star. Next up, we have The Wicked and the Divine, Volume 6 by Kieran Gillen. This one was a 4-star. I genuinely don't know what I can say about this series. It is so confusing. I could not tell you what it's about, but the art style is beautiful and I really enjoy reading about these characters, even though I have no idea what's going on. So, yeah. Next up, we have Inquisitor Rise of the Red Blade by Delilah S. Dawson. This was a 5-star. I am obsessed. This was so good. So this follows a Padawan throughout her teenage years and into adulthood. She goes through Order 66. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to spoil Star Wars if you don't know what Order 66 is. She goes through Order 66, and then this is her as an Inquisitor. So it's very much seeing her journey going from being a Padawan to an Inquisitor, and it was so well done. And I said it in my vlog, but I stand by, I understand why some Jedi turn to the dark side, because the Jedi Order's rules are outdated and ridiculous. So yeah. And the final book I read in the month of October was The Worst Best Man by Mia Sosa. This was a 4-star. I was a little bit disappointed in this, I'm not gonna lie. I just feel like I didn't enjoy this as much as I thought I would. Like, I really enjoyed The Wedding Crasher, and I don't know if it's just because maybe I'm not enjoying that writing style anymore. And don't get me wrong, I did still enjoy it. Obviously it was a 4-star. But there was just some bits that actually did make me cringe, which, yeah, I don't know. But overall, I liked the book, and like there was a bit near the end with Lena's mum, which absolutely had me in stitches. So yeah, it was a 4-star. It was okay. Okay, that is all the books that I read. My favourite book was Kith and Kin, and I feel really bad because it was nearly You're Not Supposed to Die Tonight. But Vex and Vax are always going to own my heart, so... And Trinket, can't forget Trinket. So yeah, it was Kith and Kin. It was Kith and Kin. But let me know in the comments below what your favourite book you read in the month of October was. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you next time. Bye.